What up? Go get Redman's new album. It's pretty dope. It's Big Dave here, CHGO Bulls Podcast. Bulls, Pacers is going down. We got our guy Tony East from Locked On Pacers here to talk about the Pacers. We're also going to talk about Tyrese Haliburton. We're also going to talk about the greatness of one young Zachary Thackeray. All that and much more because the GOAT is here. So Katie's going to hit the button right about now. Bulls, Pacers, collision, I-94. What up, y'all? CHGO Bulls Pregame. Very excited to be here with y'all, man. Thank y'all for coming and hanging out with us. I am Big Dave.
Wow.
That man over there is Will the Gottlieb, and in the pregame, he's the Gottlieb. You can follow him at Will_Gottlieb. DJ Katie on the ones and twos, making sure everybody doesn't have the blues. Thank y'all for hanging out with us, man. We got a lot to get into. But first and foremost, we want to bring on a very awesome human being to talk Pacers with us. He covers the Pacers for Locked On Pacers. This is my guy from my Locked On days, man. He is an awesome human being. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you my main man, Tony East. Tone, what up, baby?
It is so loud in NBA arenas. This is my new biggest beef with the NBA.
He doesn't care about extra three-pointers. He doesn't care about defense, but the
Not at all.
are so loud.
It's good to have Tony with us, man. You can follow him at Tony East on Twitter. Tony, how are you, man? How's life in Indiana as a Pacer fan?
These days, it's pretty fun. They're playing much better of late. Since they played the Bulls, actually, last month have been really good. 8 or 9-3 in their last 12 games. That was really their turning point kind of day. They're over 500. Amazingly, this game really matters for the standings in the playoffs. It's a good time in the Central Division these days.
That's good to hear, man. I know you guys are on a 3-game winning streak right now. And like you said, when you guys started off, started off a little sluggish, but it felt like you stated, that December 6th game against the Bulls was kind of the get-right game for the team. We're actually going to get into that a little bit later. But after that, man, what do you think was the change that was needed and the change that was necessary that the Pacers had to go through to get to this point?
Yeah, they're actually defending kind of good, which is weird to say about the Pacers. Not really well, but I believe last month of the season, they're top 11 or 12 in defense in the league, and it really coincides with Andrew Nembhard returning to the starting five. Since he's been out there, they've been a top 10-ish defense with their starting lineup on the floor. No Miles Turner tonight, so it's going to be hard to know exactly how good that group's going to work, but his return has been really big for this team playing better. And the first game that he played into the second half after returning from injury was that Chicago game, right? He played very well that night defensively, and the Pacers shot the lights out from three. So them having practice time during the NBA Cup, plus Andrew Nembhard returning, has done everything to change his team. They actually look like last year's team after being just really god-awful for the first 25 outings.
And obviously a big piece of that, he got off to a slow start. How's he been looking, and is he back to the peak of what he was last year, or still not quite there?
No, I don't know if we'll ever see what we saw to start last season. I mean, that dude could not miss a three at all. It was unbelievable. But he's getting closer. Like, he's been probably back-end all-star level the last 15, 20 games, and that's what the Pacers need him to be. I mean, their entire identity is how he floor that has I hope my internet is not exploding.
It's just go ahead.
That's how they play. Is how he plays, and him playing better has been a big part of their turnaround. And I don't know if they can keep it up for the rest of what they've been going through. He's been so up and down, and playing for Team USA 2 summers in a row has really hurt him. But he's been much better recently. Teams have struggled to keep him out of the paint, and now the Pacers look like themselves from last year. I believe they're 5th in offense the last 20 games.
It seems like this team, and this is just my outside looking in kind of thing. It seems like they're a little different than what their coach is in Rick Carlisle, who, when you talk about a guy like Rick Carlisle, just always tough, hard-nosed, to the grind, gristle kind of guy. But this team in Indiana, like you just mentioned, you guys, are an offensive team. Like, it's what you all are. So how do you feel that's working? And then you feel like it's a clash, or is it just, Rick Carlisle's a good coach and knows how to operate?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both, right? Like, when he got here,
I like that pause. That's how I do it.
In the bubble.
Go ahead, my friend.
All right. The internet in the arena and the sound is killing me. But, when he got here, they were trying to be good, right? Like, they were building off of a season where they were the 4 seed, and they were bad. They had to rebuild very quickly, and I think that's what softened Rick Carlisle up, right? Is he had to go through a rebuild with all these young guys, and he has talked about how through that kind of era of the Pacers, he really had to adjust who he was and learn to connect with younger players of this generation and focus a lot more on skill development. He grew to really love those one-on-one moments with players. One guy he really liked was Jalen Smith, who's now with the Bulls and has talked about how much Rick Carlisle meant to his career, right? So he still is the Rick that everybody knows. Like, deep down inside, you can only be who you are, right? I think there is something to that, and this team is growing into a veteran team that has that kind of aura and personality, but certainly he has changed a lot of how he approaches interactions, how he handles being with young players on a young team, and it helps that he had a guy like Tyrese Haliburton who is good enough to set a team's identity, and all of a sudden he can do what he wants with this group. He actually works pretty well with this group, which is not what anyone would have thought when they hired him 3 years ago.
What are the Pacers going to do tonight without Miles Turner? I know they just traded for Thomas Bryant. They've been going with Obi Toppin a little bit at backup 5. Siakam can do it. But now, I mean, that's 30-plus minutes a night at the center spot, who really, opens up the floor, protects the rim. He's a big piece of that identity you were just talking about, too. So what do you do tonight without Miles Turner?
Pray, primarily. I mean, it's tough because Vooch is playing so much better this year, right, too, and that was such a natural matchup. They're going to start Thomas Bryant. They already said that. Thomas Bryant can shoot, kind of, and he gets 2 or 3 rebounds a game that look awesome, but he's not as good as even Jalen Smith, right? That's a big loss for the Pacers, and he'll probably have to play 30 minutes. Rick Carlisle's currently talking about what he said pregame about the center position. They might have to play Enrique Freeman, a 2-way contract backup big, because they don't have James Wiseman or Isaiah Jackson, who both have Achilles tears. So they might really have to rely on backup centers on 2-way deals. Like you said, Will, Siakam at the 5's been a good group for them, but it's small, and the Bulls do play centers most of the game, right? So they might have to just pray their offense can work those units. It usually has worked for them, but they don't. Rick Carlisle doesn't like to do that. He likes having a 5. He likes having somebody who can screen, be a force around the basket. So I think there will be some worry about, especially in the minutes where Vucevic is out there and Bryant's not, about what that's going to look like for the Pacers.
All right, Tony, we want to get you out of here, man, because of the internet connection and the noise in the background. I want you to get back focused to the game, but I got 2 more questions for you. Tyrese Haliburton did pop up on the injured list as questionable. Will he play tonight? And also, I am obsessed with one player on your team. His name is Johnny Furphy. Can you tell me more about Johnny Furphy? I love saying his name. He sounds like he belongs on Saved by the Bell.
Yeah, Halliburton's playing. His ankle's good. He twisted it against the Nets a couple of games ago, but probably just one of those things where it swelled up the next day and he's good to go. I just watched him warm up. He looks fine. Furfinator, whatever everybody calls him around here. That's such a random crush. He actually is. He plays very physical despite looking like a 13-year-old. Even Rick Carlisle, his coach, said that he looks like a middle schooler. It's not just me picking on him. They know that here, but he plays with some force on the glass. He's got good footwork on his shot. I watched him play in a G League game today. He played all right. He's still certainly growing. He's very small for NBA players, but I hope he gets to play a little bit so you can see what he can do. He's got a nice jumper. He plays hard for somebody who's probably 100 pounds less than me. It's a really interesting player to watch.
Oh, man, that's our guy, Tony East, who covers the Pacers. You can follow him at Tony R. East. He covers Locked On Pacers. It's the show that he does. Tony, it's great to see you, man. It's great to talk to you, friend. Man, thank you for doing this, and enjoy the game, sir.
Thanks, guys. Have fun.
My man, Tony East, man.
Love
That's
that dude.
Guy. Yeah, Tony's my guy, man. We got real cool doing the Locked On time, man. We always just used to talk all the time, and he would always have me on his show. And yeah, he's
very,
fun.
Very smart dude.
Very smart, man. Had to get the Johnny Furphy questions in, man. That's how I roll.
Furphy's funny though because like he hasn't played a ton, just being a second round pick. He was like one of those draft analytics darling guys. Like his rebound percentage was really good. He's getting blocks and steals. He could shoot. I don't know if he's like gonna be a contributor this year, but like he's the kind of guy who could grow into like, I mean, he's big, 6'8", can shoot it, wing. Like he could be a player.
No, he could be a player, but you know, the biggest question is he going to date Kelly or Jesse? That's all we want to know. Is
that's
that
really what we're here for.
That's really what we're here for. And what will Slater do? I mean, we don't understand. That's how we do.
They never understood.
All right. I want to switch gears a little bit, man. I want to talk about somebody I love talking about because he deserves to be talked about more and more and more and more. And that's Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine has been just outstanding, and his numbers as of late have really just been off the charts. It started with this first line I saw from Bulls Muse. Katie can put that up. It just showing his numbers since Christmas. Shout out to Bulls Muse as well. Look at those numbers since Christmas, averaging 30 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, but 55, 52, and 81 is dumb. That is just really, really stupid what Zach LaVine is actually doing. So it made me wonder, well, if it's going like that for him right now in Christmas, like how are the numbers looking like as far career numbers I was looking at, just as far as what he's been doing so far this season. So let's take a look at that, man, what Zach LaVine's been doing.
Look at you being the numbers guy.
He is having, well, you know, I am one, but I know my place. He is having career highs, Will. Field goal percentage, 2-point percentage, 3-point percentage, efficient field goal percentage, and true shooting percentage. And, of course, has scored 30-plus in his last 3 games, something he hadn't done in the previous 2 seasons. He hadn't scored 30 points in 3 straight games. The last time he did it was when he was an All-Star. And he came out the gate just dropping 40 on people. It was really out of control. But Zach LaVine has just been special beyond words, Will. And I expect it to continue going that way. And what I love about how he's playing, none of it, and I've said it 1,000 times, none of it looks forced. Everything looks like it's smooth. He understands when it's time to take over. You saw it in that last game with the Spurs. He was kind of chilling right up until that fourth quarter, and it was money time, which was one of the questions we had about Zach. Can he take over in that fourth quarter? Can he do that thing? But, man, he absolutely has been balling out and doing his thing for the Chicago Bulls this season and has been the main guy carrying the team.
Absolutely. And he has been playing some of the best basketball, as you said, of his career. The way that he has bought into this system of just getting up and down, running the floor, shooting threes, not forcing things, attacking the basket, making the right read, that has really contributed to his ability to impact winning, I think. And that's really the big thing is like we've been talking about, Zach LaVine's a very talented player. He's making maybe a little bit too much money, but like, can he impact winning? That's the question that a lot of these teams who may or may not be interested in trading for him, that's what they want to know. And I think that's what he has done this year is impact winning. And that's why we've been having conversations about why are the Bulls 17-9 in a year where they need to keep their top 10 protected picks. So LaVine has been fantastic. You don't expect him to continue shooting 50% on threes. That number will come down. And so when that number comes down, his field goal percentage will come down. His effective field goal will come down. His points will come down. That affects all those things. But with the way that he's shooting the ball, it's so easy. He's making the right reads. He's making the right plays. And it's really benefiting the Bulls as a group too, because they need someone who can be, they're trying to generate offense through pace and through transition. You can't always rely on that. And so to have a guy who can be the one that puts pressure on the rim, who does draw to the basketball and then makes the right play, that is the best version of Zach LaVine. Like the numbers may not be as high as they were during his whatever All-Star year it was. Yeah. I think he's been even more impactful this season than he was as an All-Star.
Wow, that's saying a lot, dude. And honestly, I agree with you. And it's because of the flow and the way it is. Like, even during that All-Star time, you knew he was forcing it because he had to. And you knew he was just trying to show everybody he can do certain things on the floor. And also playing through injuries. This is probably the most healthiest he's been in quite a while. Yep. Like, usually there was a knee, there was an ankle, a thumb, just a nagging injury usually for Zach LaVine. He's been relatively healthy, and I think that has just come with him not forcing things and not trying to attack it so hard. inside or even outside, just trying to do everything so much. I think that's just boded well for his body and the reason that he's been able to continue on and on and on. So I expect him to do his thing tonight. Even though the Pacers, we'll get into their numbers later about what they're good at defensively, but it's just Zach LaVine has shown that one-on-one he can't be stopped, and it doesn't matter what the other team wants to do or wants to take away from him. He is finding ways to score and impact the game. My favorite thing to talk about him, Will, is the fact that he has been close to a triple-double at least 4 times this season. So, and it hasn't been just 30 points, 10 rebounds, 9 assists or something like that. We've seen it where it's been 18 points, 12 rebounds, 8 assists, something like that. So he's affecting the game in whatever the team needs. If somebody's got a hot hand, he's going to continue to go to it. Kobe is going off. He's like, cool, I'm going to get you the ball. Vooch's doing his thing. Cool, I'm going to get out your way and get you the ball. He just knows when to pick and choose his spots. And that's just a sign of somebody who is stepping into that all-star level. I said this to Will Perdue because
Flex.
we had this conversation. Shout out. We had this conversation on this show talking about Zach.
Flex.
How I feel there are 3 levels when you're talking about an NBA player. There's a star, there's an all-star, and there's a superstar. And right now, Zach is trying to, just submit himself as that all-star. Yep. And that's where I'm at. Like, an all-star is a guy who you can cheat with as a 1, but is a clear 2. And is a guy who will drop 30 for you when you're in the playoffs and you just truly need him to do so. That's what Zach LaVine is showing the NBA, man, as far as what he can do and just how skilled that he is, Will. And the efficiency numbers, it leads to the
and it's so right it's there, so crazy. So like, awesome. I mean, they were literally talking about, do the Bulls have to give up a draft pick to get off of this guy? And like, I don't expect the Bulls to get a haul for Zach if and when they do trade him, just because there aren't a lot of first-round picks going on the market right now. But like, I mean, you look at what the situation the Suns are in with Bradley Beal, where he's making $10 million a year more than him for the same amount of years. He's an older player and has the no trade clause, and he's injured more, and he is like not playing as well as Zach. And like, he's a guy who's being talked about as, you got to figure out what to do about the no trade clause, but like they're trying to move him. And it just doesn't make any sense to me why right now teams wouldn't be going after LaVine, because he is that good. He's been that impactful. And, you credit the Bulls for not feeling like they needed to get off of him by any means necessary and giving up a pick in order to do so. So that has allowed them to be in a position where maybe they do get something of value. But as Jem says in the comments, like, I don't get why we want to trade Zach. He's still young. I'm not saying like they need to build around Zach, but I do think that the idea of trading Zach in the first place, a lot of it was about creating space to be able to keep DeMar DeRozan. That ship has sailed. DeMar is on the Kings now. So with the market being what it is, and with Zach playing as well as he has, where he's more valuable to you than he would be to another team, should the Bulls reconsider just trading him? Or does it make more sense to keep him, at least until they can get the kind of value that other teams have gotten for their star players?
Yeah, I like that point you made, like them just not getting off of him and giving him away. You're right. You'll give them credit for that and not making that move and just a panic move, saying, fine, give it to them. We'll give us whatever you want. But now they're in a position, and I think teams, especially playoff teams, will be looking very hard to get a guy like Zach LaVine. The question is, how bad do you want to win? Like, that's really the question. Like, how bad do you want to win, and how far do you think you want to go in these playoffs? Because Zach LaVine can damn sure be that guy to take you there, without a doubt.
Now, I will say this. Like I mentioned before, it's unlikely that Zach continues to play quite at this level, because 30 points on 50, 50, 80 is like, I mean, that's MVP.
Jordan-esque.
Yeah. I mean, that's not going to happen. Not to say that like he's incapable, but just like that would be such a statistical outlier that there's almost no way it sustains. So if the Bulls are going to be trading him, like, you want to do that before the numbers start to fall off. Sure. And we've seen that with Vooch a little bit here. He's still playing very well, but his shooting numbers aren't what they were at the start of the year.
Right, correct.
And so, does that make it seem a little bit more real? Like, okay, maybe he's a 40% shooter, not a 48% shooter. Like, that's maybe something that a team could buy. But yeah, I mean, you also have to weigh that just of how far above his head is he actually playing right now.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel like it's forced, though. That's the thing. Like, he's just hooping right now. Like, that's kind of all it is. And it doesn't feel like yeah, if he goes to the Lakers, I mean, he's not going to have as many touches. They're not going to be playing as fast. Maybe the numbers don't look quite as good, but the impact is there. And he's proven that he can play off the ball. He's proven that he can play on the ball. He's proven that he can be the guy in clutch moments, which is what happened last game against the Spurs when the Bulls came back and won. So I think Zach has answered all the questions that people had about him. The money still is what it is, and I think that's ultimately like the big barrier that teams are going to have to grapple with. But, you know, we've been talking about it for a long time. Like the conversation, the narrative swung way too far against LaVine.
Yeah,
and I think he's swung it back in as far in the other direction, where he's playing so well that he has proven all that stuff wrong in 35 games.
Yeah, game just looks easy to him right now, and we'll see if that continues tonight. Wanted to talk about Tyrese Haliburton, ladies and gentlemen, who got off to a very slow start that I predicted because I saw him in Vegas, so I got an idea of how he was going to start. But it felt like the Bulls were a get-right game
the
for
roulette
that young
table
man.
too hard.
Say it again?
He was hitting the roulette table too hard.
I mean, you know, it wasn't a roulette
Something
table.
like that.
But yeah, it felt like the Bulls game for him was that get-right game, and you heard Tony kind of mention it just for the team in general. I thought more so for a guy like Tyrese Haliburton, it definitely was get-right game. You can look at his numbers right there, what he was doing before that Bulls game, the 17 points, the 3 rebounds, the 8 assists, the 41% from the field, and the 33% from the field is just not who he has been. And then, but after that Bulls game, I believe he had 20 points, 23 points, 8 assists, and was 5 of 9 from the 3-point line. But you can see his numbers right there, right after that Bulls game. 19 points a game, 4 rebounds, 9 assists, 47% from the field. And, of course, that 3-point percentage of 40%, which is kind of what we know him for and what we know him to do. Will, what your thoughts on Tyrese Haliburton and this kind of season, weird roller coaster season he's been having?
Yeah, you know, it's not like Tony was saying. I mean, he got off to this incredible start to last season where he was making everything. And like his game, he's obviously, I think, probably aside from Jokic, the best passer in the league. Like he's just that talented at creating open shots for his teammates. When he is making his threes, in particular his step back threes, that just makes you impossible to defend because you have to sell out to get up to the level, and that opens up the paint. When you open up the paint and you've got Miles Turner spacing, the paint is wide open. They've got so many guys that can hit threes. And so I think when they traded Buddy Hield last year, you take offensive firepower off the floor, you trade that for defense, and Nembhard, Siakam, Nesmith, those guys have played well, but that was their identity, was like really leaning into this extreme of shooting 3-point pace, kind of similar to what the Bulls are doing.
Yeah.
But Haliburton, it's all around him. It's all dependent on him. And for him to get back up to 47 from the field, 40% from 3, that is how he gets them to respectability, to above where they are right now and how they've been playing for the last month. So as long as he continues to play the way that he has been playing, the Pacers have more runway to improve. And I don't see why that should slow down now. I mean, I know it'll be tough tonight without Miles Turner for them. And I think Vooch, like we look back at the first Spurs game where Wembanyama didn't play and Vooch really took advantage. Like that's kind of what I'm expecting from him tonight. But this Pacers team, I mean, like the Bulls have just really like bamboozled teams with speed and threes and pace. That's what the Pacers do. And they did it at an even better rate than the Bulls last year. So I think it's going to be a very fast-paced matchup, and we'll see kind of who makes their shots.
Yeah, and Haliburton, I mean, I really enjoyed his trajectory, especially last year, because he put himself kind of on the map, especially with the midseason tournament. It was one of the really good things about the midseason tournament is you get teams like the Indiana Pacers who other, people around the world probably aren't looking at. You're probably looking at the core teams like the Lakers or, Boston, the Knicks, the Bulls, those teams. You're not thinking about the Pacers. So for them to get on that national stage and for him to actually shine on that national stage really did something for his career because he balled completely out that entire season, man. Like he was absolutely amazing. Had all eyes on him, and he celebrated like it, which is why he ended up on the WWE SmackDown a couple times because he was living a good life. He was having a good time. But he's a little bit more focused now. He got off to that slow start. I think he's back to being a little more focused, and he really plays well against the Chicago Bulls, man. Like the last time we played them, I mentioned that I thought he was going to have a good game because the previous game when they played Patrick Beverly when he was here on the Bulls and the 3-point shot that was hit by Tyrese Haliburton.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I'm sure you were there to see it, sir, was absolutely out of control. Like, he balls out against the Chicago Bulls, and I honestly expect him to do the same. And I agree with you, Will. I think it's going to be a fast-paced matchup, and the numbers kind of lend itself to it. Let's take a look at the Indiana Pacers team, and let's take a look at what they've done this season and how good they have been. As Will mentioned, man, like this team definitely gets out and likes to run. You see they're 8th in fast break points, assists per game, also in the top 10. The efficient field goal percentage also up there. The 3-point shooting, the percentage also 8th. They are up there. And what I find very interesting, Will, is what they like to do is and try to take away defensively is what the Bulls are really good at, which is fast breaks. Like right now, the Bulls, I believe, are 3rd in fast break points. So right now, they are 4th in opponent fast break points per game at 13.2. So that's something that's going to clash right there. The Bulls are 2nd in 3-point attempts and makes. The Pacers are 7th in opponents' 3-point attempts and 9th in opponents' 3-pointers made. So there'll be clashing styles tonight to watch because both these teams like to run, and the Pacers like to take away teams running, and they like to take away your 3-point shot. What do you think we're going to see tonight, Will? With that, even without a guy like Myles Turner, I still think that they'll be playing up to those levels.
Yeah, I think the Bulls have a real opportunity here to just do what they do best, which is run, put pressure on the rim, and spray it out. And I think against a team that's main rim protector is not there, you really have an opportunity to put a ton of pressure on the rim, and that can really bend the defense. So I think that's what the Bulls will try to do. The Pacers don't have like perimeter stoppers. I mean, Aaron Nesmith was kind of the closest thing they had to that. He's been out for quite a while. He has not played. They're starting Haliburton alongside Nembhard, Benedict Mathurin, Siakam, and Thomas Bryant. Siakam's a good defender, but like he's not containing Zach. So I think they'll probably throw Nembhard at Zach. They will probably try to run and tire the Bulls out, and we'll see if the Bulls can sustain. Like I have questions about, are the Bulls going to be able to continue at this pace for the entirety of the season? We will see, but I don't see the Pacers being in a real position to be able to stop the Bulls from doing what they do, especially without Myles Turner. So it's really going to be about which team makes their shots.
I also think it's going to go down in the second half as well, because when I was checking these numbers, the other thing I saw was the Bulls are first in third quarter points, and they are 3rd in fourth quarter points. Now, as far as the Pacers, they are 7th in third quarter points, and they are 8th in fourth quarter points, because both these teams are second half squads. So that's going to be something to watch and look at as well. Have you seen the Bulls starting lineup? Just to check that out.
I have not.
Because I just want to make sure it's the same lineup as I assume as it's going to be. But
Giddey, Kobe, Zach, Patrick, and Vooch.
There it is. The same old lineup will be out there for the Chicago Bulls. I'm excited to watch this. Just anytime it's two teams that like to move and like to run, and you have a guy like Zach LaVine and you have a guy like Tyrese Haliburton, it's always good when the stars can actually play against each other, and we get to sit there and have that discussion and watch that kind of game. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I don't know about I see a lot of people talking about Patrick Williams in this. I think Patrick will just do what Patrick's been doing. I'm curious to see if Kobe White will continue on the torrent streak that he's been on. We'll see what he does out there, but definitely expect Vooch to be out there punishing those guys in the low block and getting those points in there. Who
at
on
the
the
same
Bulls
at the same point though, like if you, and I think this is a fine thing to try to exploit, but like if you throw the ball down there to Vooch and let him try to cook over Thomas Bryant, like yeah, you probably got an advantage there, but it's slowing you down. It's taking you out of the fast-paced offense that's generating rim shots, corner threes, transition points. And I think the Bulls have to be careful about not falling victim to that, mismatch exploitation. And, I do think that will be available to them. And, I've talked about this with Vooch. We've talked about it with Billy. Like, they don't want to go away from their identity, but at times I do think you have to look for that. So it'll just be an interesting balance to see okay, you don't have Miles Turner down there. How much or how often are we going to Vooch? And is that coming at the expense of our transition game and our, drive and kick game?
Okay. We'll be watching. We will see. We'll be tuned in. Hope you are as well. After the game, come right back here for the post game here for CHGO Bulls with myself and the GOAT. And, of course, DJ Katie back there as well. Enjoy the game. We'll be talking to y'all. I can't wait for this. You see the thumb.
Hit the like.
It. Hit the like. Katie is upset. Hit the like, ladies and gentlemen, and enjoy the game. See you guys at post game, y'all. Peace and love. We'll be back.
We all silly like the mayor.